oftentimes the reptilian will sexually assault the human woman. And let's say the woman is lying on her back and the reptilian assaults her but is invisible. She will not be able to see what is going on, although she will feel the thrusting action of the reptilian's member. Let's say, for example, that she can move her arms or she can move her hands. She may try to block or prevent the organ of the reptilian from entering her. But she will not feel anything, but she'll try. Paradoxically, she will still feel the insertion of the reptilian's member into one or the other orifices. So it's somewhat of a paradox. It's like, well, she can't block it with her hand, but she still feels it, thrusting inside of her. I should have added in my preface that this is kind of adult content, so, But I really do believe that if there are members of the audience that are somewhat young and whose parents or mother is having these experiences, now is as good a time as any to learn. So you have something of a paradox where the reptilian can penetrate layers of bedclothes, bed sheets, linen, bedclothes, and densify particular parts of its anatomy, like its member or its claws, for example, and still remain invisible. Now, what the reptilian can also do is it can assume the guise of someone that the woman is attracted to or has been involved with in the past. A reptilian can appear as an ex-boyfriend or someone the gal just got a crush with, someone that she runs into the laundromat, at the apartment complex. The reptilian can appear as that particular person. Or, conversely, if the reptilian wants to engender as much fear and terror from the abductee, it can allow itself, it can reveal itself in its full reptilian glory, if you will. And if you haven't seen a sketch of a reptilian, if you haven't seen a reptilian in person, snout, big eyes, sometimes yellowish, sometimes reddish, vertical slit pupils, sometimes big flaring nostrils, rows of sharp teeth, extremely robust, claws. And what the reptilian can also do, if it really wants to create terror within the abductee, is not only can it allow itself to be seen, but the reptilians, and also, as I will describe later, reptilian-human hybrids, for all intents and purposes, humans that have reptilian capabilities. Reptilians and human-reptilian hybrids, some of them, have the ability to somehow trigger within the mind or the brain of the abductee specific memories of previous child abuse, previous sexual abuse. So the reptilian can trigger that part of the mind of the abductee, and she will begin to remember a sexual assault when she was a child or a time when she was raped. And not only that, though, but what a number of researchers into satanic ritual abuse and mind control have discovered is that energy is locked into the bodies of ritual abuse and mind control victims. It's locked into the bodies, and it's blocked, and it's incapable of getting out. What the reptilians can do is cause not only the memories of the childhood sexual assault to flood into the mind of the person and force them to relive that sexual assault in real time, but the attendant body memories also can be made to surface. So it causes the abductee, the woman, to freeze up, become petrified and terrified, and all the while the reptilian feeds off of this. Now, one of the byproducts of a reptilian sexual assault, well, there are a number of them where the woman is concerned. One of them is extremely heightened libido. And the reason for this is because the reptilian has the ability to activate what's known as the kundalini, the chi, the sexual energy of the woman, and cause her to have what's been described to me as extremely powerful full-body orgasms. from the tips of the toes all the way to the head, just leaving them breathless. And this could last literally for hours. Now, there are some consequences to that. And I'm not trying to make light of it. This is just a facet of it that is very real, where the woman can feel intense shame about what has been going on, because nobody wants to admit, even to themselves, that they're having these sexual assaults from a reptilian creature. But at the same time, the force and the power of the orgasms are such that after a while she begins to wonder when the entity will come back. She begins to long for that feeling again. And this creates a cycle of guilt and shame. Another byproduct of these sexual assaults is that the female abductee, for a short period of time after the sexual assault, will be extremely psychic. In fact, I know of a case, female, a close friend of mine, who's had a number of reptilian experiences and a number of military experiences. A reptilian came into her house, sexually assaulted her, and no sooner did the reptilian leave that the military, through some means which we haven't quite figured out, they have the means to pull in the MyLabs that they're working with from their house straight to their realm through some kind of teleportation device, some kind of portal. We don't really know the mechanics behind it, but they just have a means of taking someone and then just pulling them to some other location, frequently an underground installation. So no sooner had this reptilian raped her and departed than the military pulled her into the underground base and immediately set her to work on a remote viewing operation in the Persian Gulf area. So that tells me one of two things. One, the military, knowing that this woman is a reptilian hybrid and has had lifetime experiences with reptilians, monitored her household. They have sensors that are sensitive enough to indicate when a reptilian manifests. And there is an energetic spike when a reptilian manifests, because they don't need spaceships to travel around in. They can open up a portal in your wall, walk right through. Very often you hear stories of them coming out of closets. That's a very common point of entry for reptilians and other beings, where they create a portal entry and they come in through a closet. Children's boogeyman stories are frequently talk about boogeymen and monsters coming out of closets. As I was going to discuss later, Ted Bundy, the infamous serial killer, complained about scaly creatures coming out of his closet when he was a child. So what does that tell me? It tells me that the military was either monitoring the woman, knew a reptilian had come, had sexually assaulted her, and decided to exploit that circumstance and use her in a remote viewing operation. Or it's possible that the reptilian and the military were working in cahoots, and the reptilian came in first, did its thing, and then the military took her and utilized her in this operation. We know these things have happened because more than one person has described this kind of experience. Some of the other things that reptilians do to women is they can literally take over the body of a woman while the woman is having sex with a partner. And then what the woman describes is something similar to astral body, out-of-body experiences, where her consciousness will leave her physical body, and this reptilian will then come in and then engage in intercourse with her partner. And oftentimes, the entity taking over the woman's body can get into all kinds of real sordid kink. It could get into all kinds of perverted activities, and the woman is just out of her body just watching this, saying, "That's not me, I wouldn't do any of those things." So that's also been reported, that they can take over the consciousness, the body of a person while they're having intercourse. Later on, I will explain some of the mechanics and dynamics as far as the hybrid hosting process. For now, just keep in mind that there are some psychics have the ability, when they look at a person, whether they're on TV, out in public, they can literally see a reptilian entity overshadowing the person. we call that person a host because they're wittingly or unwittingly hosting a reptilian entity. So keep that point in mind. It's very important.